Welcome back. This is part 3 in my mini-series, Know Thyself. And this episode will be a bit different from the 2 previous, but that you will discover in a short while. When we awaken, what is it that we awaken out of, so to speak? Yeah, the best way to describe it is that it is a social mask. A sort of programming that has been taking place in our childhood by the social norms that were present in that particular area where we happened to show up. The dilemma is that almost nobody knows that it is a mask, an image that we are carrying in front of ourselves. And most people believe that this social mask is who they really are. And when we come to believe that, all sorts of problems arises, along with pain and suffering. But I am here to wake you up. I intend to do that in this episode and the next episode. What is it that we are waking up to? It is important to notice that it is not our current idea about our identity that awakens. Our current idea about identity is the social mask. And we awakens out of that mask, out of that idea. And we discover what lays behind it, so to speak. And that which lay behind the social mask is paradoxically, or it can, when we use this language, then it can be described as twofold. And that seems paradoxically, for how can non-duality be twofold? And of course it isn't. But what I am pointing at is that it is two sides of the same coin. So what I'm pointing towards is two sides of the same coin. And in this episode I point to one of the sides, and in the next episode I will point to the other side. And in the next episode we will come to discover that even though they seem to be two different things. They are actually two sides of the same coin, and therefore they are one. So, as I said, this episode, as well as the next one, will be a bit different, because in a short while I will be blurring myself out, so there are as little distractions as possible as I guide you towards a realization about yourself. Your task is just to listen to what I have to say. Listen in openness. Listen open-minded. And don't try to guess. Don't try to intellectually understand what I am pointing towards. Just listen. Okay. So, here we go. Relax. Imagine if you were alone on a small island. Who would you be then? Or imagine that you had never learned a language. Then who would you be? And notice that if you hadn't learned a language, you wouldn't be able to think in words either. So who would you be? It is important that you understand that these questions have nothing to do with who other people think you are. These questions are meant to uncover who you are, to who you are. Metaphors can make the message easier to understand. So I will now use a metaphor to make the message as easy to understand as possible. For those of you who are not familiar with general construction techniques, we usually talk about a foundation when we build a house. In the old days, we did not make any foundation. We just built the house on top of the bare ground. But over time, it was discovered that these houses were fragile. the walls cracked, and there was no strength to the building. It was thus found that a building had to have a strong foundation on which it was built. So the foundation is basically an extra strong form of platform that is under the main building. It is this foundation that gives the building strength and makes the building less vulnerable to external influences. With this in mind, we can use this metaphor when we are exploring ourselves. We can ask ourselves the question, do I have a foundation? Do I have a foundation that is unaffected by external circumstances? The answer is yes. I do have a foundation. But before we begin the exploration that will lead us to the answer, there is something that is of utmost importance to acknowledge. When this exploration starts, you start it as who you think you are at this moment. Realizing this is of utmost importance. This phenomenon is sometimes described with a little story where a policeman has been assigned a task to catch a thief. But the policeman is himself the thief he has to catch. How can this policeman catch the thief? If this dilemma is not clearly recognized, then you will potentially end up in a dead end that can be extremely difficult to get out of again. Try to look at it like this. If it is not recognized that you are looking for an answer as what you already think you are, then the answer you find will only be something conceptual. It will thus simply be a new idea that the person you already think you are can and will attach to itself. There is no foundation in that. A foundation precedes what is built upon it. What is on the top of the foundation will thus be secondary. So therefore, it is important to realize that the conceptual identity, or we can also call it the social identity that you possess right now, is not a foundation, and that it will never be It is therefore possible to demolish everything built on top of the foundation, and you will still be here. I'm not saying that you need to tear everything down, though. All I'm saying is that you are not what stands on top of the foundation, and that what stands on top of the foundation is fragile and always will be. At the same time, I also say that when you recognize your foundation as being that which precedes everything else, when you find that foundation, you strengthen what is built on top of it. Recognizing yourself as the foundation that precedes everything else is what is classically called spiritual awakening. It is thus the foundation itself that wakes up. And when that happens, it can be a quiet "oh," or it can be a loud "Eureka!" Regardless, a form of rebirth takes place. Or historically, this is also called a virgin birth. It is when the pieces, so to speak, of one's self-understanding finally fall into place. Okay, let's uncover the foundation of who we are. As I mentioned earlier, the investigation is to uncover who you are to who you are. Therefore, we can say that you are already the foundation. Let me repeat that. You already are the foundation. So you're not becoming something new, but you have been indoctrinated by the culture you were born into to believe you are something else. This was not done in a bad spirit, but rather as a result of an evolutionary calamity. It is thus the foundation itself that wakes up. It wakes up from what we could call a dream world. Therefore, it is not who you think you are at this moment that wakes up. Let me repeat that. It is not who you think you are at this moment that wakes up. If you believe that you who you think you are, will wake up, It will be like turning the whole thing on its head. The order is simply wrong. Therefore, throughout the ages, it has also been said that awakening is a kind of backward step, figuratively speaking. You, so to speak, step out of the identity you carry and back into reality about yourself. It is as if what you previously identified with suddenly is observed from a distance. You are no longer inside that persona. You observe it instead, seeing it clearly for what it is. A mask, an illusion, a dream. This is why that this message is not for the persona. This message is to who you are. I know who you are. You cannot fool me. My task is to give you a loving slap and say, wake up, for you also know who you are. You are not this little, delicate, scared, unhappy, dissatisfied, mournful and frustrated persona. Of course you are not. Instead, you are a miracle of cosmic proportions. Let me remind you of who you really are. You are the cosmos itself. As the physical form you are almost 14 billion years old. Right now, you experience the universe as this manifestation. But everything you consist of, you yourself has created. Inside the furnace of a star, everything you are on the physical plane has been created. In various physical forms, you have existed for almost 14 billion years. When one physical form dies, a new one arises. Thus, you never really die. You find yourself in a perpetual cycle of coming into form and out of form again. More and more advanced forms emerges, and you are all of them. Right now, you experience yourself as the physical form you are. But I, the one who are speaking here, is exactly the same. We are the same. The foundation is the same. Everywhere you see only yourself. In some places as a manifestation of madness and violence and destruction. In other places as the most delicate butterfly. It is all you. All that exists is the cosmos, which is in a form of continuous refinement of itself. The physical creature we call a human is thus a direct result of this refinement. Wake up! There is not a person who has a body. You do not exist as someone who has a body. On the physical level, you are this body, but you are also everything else. You are the air that you breathe. You are the food that you eat. You are the tree that you embrace. You are the sun that warms your body. This whole journey that you set yourself out on almost 14 billion years ago has only this one purpose. That you first set everything in motion in the simplest possible form, and then slowly you worked your way towards the moment when you wake up to yourself again. It is an infinite cosmic spectacle that you have arranged for yourself. But the time has come. Wake up. The entire cosmos is your physical foundation. And as such, we wake up on the physical plane. It is an awakening that changes everything while changing nothing. It is a wonderful paradox. So just play on as the persona, knowing that you are not really this social mask. And you will find that the life that you are right now will flourish and spread joy everywhere, including within yourself. Enjoy that you have finally arrived home, and that you now finally know what your existence is all about. And when you have enjoyed this play in form for a while, you will be ready to wake up from the physical plane also. We have to go deeper, deeper into our own being and find the deepest layer. We must therefore also wake up from form and wake up into the pure cosmic consciousness. That I will talk about in part 4. Until then, take good care of yourself. Thank you.